So I'm doing my movie review on Transformers, the 2007 version. I know there's like a bunch of movies, I believe like six, seven movies, but I feel like the 2007 version of Transformers was very ahead of its time, especially with all the CGI and special effects. It brought out like a lot to the movie, and I feel like it looks like it was something made like in 2015 or like even 2010, but overall it was like very ahead of its time. But it was released on July 3rd, 2007 by Michael Bay. Michael Bay, he makes a lot of action film movies and a lot of like s- big special effect movies. Like for example, he has made the Bad Boy movies. I think all four of them. Quiet Place, and I believe he also made The Purge as well. And so, and he made many more movies as well, but he is very known for like with his big, like a lot of action and a lot of special effects and CGI. So he really did a outstanding job with this movie. But the Transformers movies are based off of I kind of like the idea from the 1984 Transformer TV series. I remember watching some of it as a kid. I used to watch like really old like cartoons from like the 1900s, but Transformers I do remember a little bit of it, but they got the idea. I'm pretty sure the storyline isn't exactly the same as it's in the movie, but they used like the same characters like the Autobots, Decepticons, Megatron, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee. They use the same characters. They just like changed the story a little bit, but overall the concept of like the Decepticons are like trying to take over the planet and like the Autobots are trying to save it. So the idea of the story and the characters is still the same, just in a different location, I believe. And it was filmed in like when they were filming, it was like filming like a lot of locations like Detroit, Nevada, Washington D.C., and Southern California as well. Um, but overall, it's like ahead of its time, I believe. But the summary is basically a young high schooler who always, as all young high schoolers, always dreamed of having his very first car, especially if he wants to like drive it around, show it off to his, high school crush and all that. But his name is Sam Witwicky. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Um, but the one thing that he didn't know is that his first car was gonna be a transformer or a Autobot. So that's not something I don't think he was planning on getting as his first car. But the Autobots, Bumblebee, the one that he was driving around, he kind of like asks him for his help. And then his high school crush also tagged along with them, and then both of them are trying to work together with the Autobots, like Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and the rest of them. They're trying to work together to stop the Decepticons. And I don't really want to spoil it as much, but it's just them working together and they're trying to fight the Decepticons while they're trying to also avoid the FBI and the government. And but they get help from an unexpected source, so maybe watch the movie, you'll understand who helps them in the end. So it's pretty good. Um, Overall, like I said in the beginning, the cinematography, it was really well made, especially for a 2007 movie. They directors, it looked like they used a lot of CGI because obviously there's no real life giant robots acting the whole movie, so basically obviously they were like animated or CGI, but also they used a lot of explosions and special effects as well. So overall, there was like it looked like an actual war movie, like it was a documentary. So it was pretty cool. And especially when the robots were fighting, they used like a lot of metal sounding like scraping because obviously they're both robots, so with when metal hits metal, then there's like a metal sounding. I don't know how to describe the sound, but it's a lot of metal. Um, Especially with the dialogue, the the um the the robots, they sound really like their voice is like robotic, something like that. But with the Decepticons, the bad guys, they sound more robotic. Like you can't really understand what they're saying just because of how much the tone they like the robot tone that they used. They kind of like sound like an actual like old robot speaking. So they made that fitting for like since they're the Decepticons, the bad guys, obviously they're not gonna have like a sweet voice. So they really made that fitting for those robots. And as well, the camera angles was like really good. Um, when they in the fight scenes, especially in the cities, they used a bunch of like angles, like aiming up, aiming down, um, like angled camera angles. And it was a lot of camera shaking, especially when like there's like big explosions or when an Autobot falls or Decepticon falls. Obviously, they're huge, so it makes the ground shake, which caused the camera to shake as well. So the camera angles really played a big role into that, especially when zooming out and you can see the little human with the big robot, and it makes it like look like really fitting, especially since they're like alien robots. They're supposed to be ginormous. So overall, the cinematography came out really well, and yeah, for like a 2007 movie, this came out pretty good. The acting as well is it was like really well made. The actors, especially Sam Witwicky and the FBI agents, they really brought out their role into the movie. Like they really acted out their part. Cause obviously, Sam Witwicky would be scared, obviously, because he doesn't know the robots or like whatever's happening to him. But he brought out like a lot of like sarcastic tones into his acting, so like it really did make the movie a little funny. Also with like I think like all the characters had like a sarcastic tone to it, and it was like really it made it really like worth watching because they like obviously like you can't have like a serious movie throughout the whole movie. Like you want to have like bits and pieces of everything. So when they brought out like their sarcastic side of the character, it kind of like eased up the tension, kind of, if you know what I mean, the tension of in the movie. So it overall it was like it felt like a comedy action movie, and so it was really well made, and they did a really good job acting, especially when like explosions, the fight scenes. Some of them had to get thrown by the Autobots, so honestly, I don't know how they were able to make that, but um I believe some of it was also CGI. They didn't actually throw people off buildings, but they really did cover it pretty well. So it did look like they were like thrown or they got blown up in the explosion or whatever. But overall, like even then they were like a little bit sarcastic. So it was pretty well made. Even the army people as well, they were like sarcastic, but they were mostly serious throughout the whole movie. But yeah, the acting was pretty well made overall in the movie. I enjoyed it even when I was little. I really enjoyed it, so I would rewatch it over the years. I did stop rewatching for like a couple years, so that's why I had to rewatch it again recently. And so even then, like it was a good refresher and like it made me laugh again like I did when I was young. So I actually do recommend if people like watching action, comedy, or even like sci-fi, like alien movies. I feel like this would be like a good movie, especially with comedy. Honestly, the comedy was like really funny throughout the movie, even though like they're robots, you wouldn't think that they would have like comedy. They would be mostly serious. But even then, they were like they each robot had their own personality. Like Optimus Prime, he was more of the leader, he was more serious. He had his like little bit of comedy moments, but he was mostly serious throughout the movie. But Bumblebee, the his like um his friend, he was like he was kind of like acting like a kid. He was like kind of immature, but not really. He had his serious moments as well, but he mostly had like was very sarcastic and he acted like a kid, all that. And same with the other ones. I don't really remember all their names. Each movie they have different characters, except for Optimus and Bumblebee. But they all had like their special part. One of them was a medic, so he was kind of serious. The other one was like a jazz robot, so he would like be like groovy and he would like just relax. He wasn't really like that uptight. So I feel like the in the movie they had their own special part. So that's what really made it special. Especially cuz like the Decepticons, they didn't really have personalities except for like later on in the movies they each one had their different personality. But I think in the first one they didn't really give each Decepticon a personality since they're the bad guys. Only Megatron obviously was the most evilest one. But overall, and he even won like an award of best science fiction, so for an alien movie, it was like pretty well made. But I personally think it was more of a comedy movie, but that's just me. But I do rate it like a really good rating. So like 5 stars and everything. But yeah, honestly, this was a really well done movie in its prime. Um, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you like comedy. Definitely a good comedy movie. And yeah.